Let's start with our first news. Sean Strickland gave us an update on his current health and revealed that the coming months will be rough after having his wisdom teeth removed and dealing with a blown-out shoulder. He explained that despite the pain and setbacks, he is still staying in the gym, still training, and refusing to slow down. According to him, it is going to be a very difficult stretch, but he is pushing through every session, working around injuries, and keeping his mindset locked in. Strickland said, "Well guys, got my wisdom teeth out Sunday. I got a blown shoulder, but we're out here back training, putting on these, show them what's up. It's going to be a real hard couple months for me, but, gotta keep the demons away." Despite the physical challenges, the fighter continues to show up daily at the gym, maintaining a strong presence in training sessions and pushing through discomfort that would normally force most athletes to take extended rest periods. His approach reflects a mindset focused on discipline, resilience, and consistency, even when his body is not at full capacity. Coaches and teammates around him have noted that he is still engaged in technical work, drilling skills, and staying mentally sharp despite the setbacks. The coming weeks are expected to test his endurance and recovery, but Strickland appears committed to maintaining momentum rather than stepping away from competition preparation. He continues to prioritize staying active in order to keep his rhythm and avoid losing sharpness during recovery periods, which he believes could affect his long-term performance in the sport. Overall, his update highlights both the physical struggles and the determination that continues to define his approach inside the gym and beyond, staying locked in no matter what. Move on to another news. Conor McGregor receives warning ahead of his potential fight with Max Holloway. As the first ever Netflix combat sports card gained massive attention, Dana White shifted spotlight by announcing a major headliner for UFC 329, Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. As soon as the matchup was announced, reactions across the MMA world were mixed. Max Holloway has remained active, even fighting recently in March, while Conor McGregor has not competed since 2021. He was also scheduled to face Michael Chandler in 2024, but injury forced him out once again. Discussions on Paramount's Deep Water podcast featured Dustin Poirier, Jorge Masvidal, Chris Weidman, and Dean Thomas breaking down the fight. Opinions were sharply divided, with Masvidal believing McGregor would get completely overwhelmed, while Poirier suggested McGregor still carries dangerous timing and knockout power. Poirier emphasized that Conor's power remains a threat regardless of time away, while others highlighted Max Holloway's consistent improvements and ability to increase pace as fights progress. Concerns were also raised about Conor's long layoff and the fight being contested at 170 pounds. Odds makers currently favor Holloway heavily, listing him as a -400 favorite, sparking debate among fans and analysts. Some believe betting lines will shift due to strong support from Conor McGregor's fanbase, especially Irish supporters expected to influence market movement. As analysts continue to debate the matchup, questions remain about how Conor will perform after years away from competition. The outcome at UFC 329 is highly anticipated, with both supporters and critics closely watching every development leading up to fight night. Interest also came from Mike Perry, who has shown eagerness to step into the spotlight surrounding Conor McGregor. Previously, the two have exchanged words, adding more heat to potential future discussions around crossover fights and promotional interest. While nothing is officially confirmed beyond speculation, the conversation around McGregor versus Holloway continues to grow, especially with analysts debating timing, ring rust, and weight class advantages at welterweight. Fans remain split, with some believing McGregor's experience and knockout ability could still change the outcome, while others point to Holloway's pace, durability, and recent activity as decisive factors. Regardless of opinions, UFC 329 is already shaping up to be one of the most talked about events in recent memory. The anticipation continues to build toward fight night as training camps intensify worldwide across the sport. Move on to another news. Dustin Poirier reacted to Nate Diaz's brutal loss to Mike Perry. Before getting to that, these two have been building tension again after Nate went on Theo Von's podcast a few weeks ago and made controversial comments about Dustin. After his loss, Nate called Dustin a crybaby for retiring and said he would come back just to fight him. With all that context, here is what Dustin had to say about Nate and Mike Perry. "We've been circling each other for years. We could have fought. He knows that." He says he wishes Nate would be honest with fans about pulling out or not coming to terms with the UFC during their multiple failed bookings. But after the way he looked on Saturday night, he He believes Nate cannot talk right now and needs a break, sleep, and recovery. He described him as looking completely off, saying he looked like a punching bag with poor timing, low output, and no real rhythm. Overall, he suggested Nate's performance was far below expectations and that the fight showed clear decline in movement and confidence. The rivalry between Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz has remained active for years, with both fighters exchanging comments even without being scheduled to fight again. This latest reaction only adds more fuel to their ongoing dispute and keeps fans talking about what could have been one of the biggest fights in the division. Meanwhile, Mike Perry's involvement in the conversation continues to draw attention, especially after his recent performance against Nate Diaz, which sparked further debate in combat sports circles. Many analysts believe Dustin's comments reflect long-standing frustration over fights that never materialized between him and Nate during their prime years. Fans continue to debate who would have won had the matchup been made when both were at their peak. Despite the criticism, Nate Diaz remains one of the most talked-about fighters in the sport, while Dustin continues to maintain his position as one of the top lightweights and welterweight contenders when active. This situation highlights the ongoing narrative surrounding both fighters, their past negotiations, and the unresolved tension that continues to surface whenever either of them competes or comments on the other in interviews and media appearances. The discussion is likely to continue as fans await potential future developments between them. In combat sports worldwide coverage and analysis, ongoing story continues. Move on to another news. Jon Anik has praised the announcement of Conor versus Max Holloway 2, while also criticizing the previously planned Michael Chandler matchup. He explained that the new booking gives the fight far more meaning from a sporting perspective, turning it into more than just a comeback showcase. Instead, Conor returns against a former rival with real history, which adds extra weight and narrative. To UFC 329 on July 11th, he also pointed out that Conor is now set to return after one of the longest layoffs in UFC history, with his last appearance coming at UFC 264 in 2021. This means his comeback will take place roughly 5 years after his previous fight inside the octagon, making the stakes even higher for both fighters. Jorge Masvidal also shared his thoughts on the matchup, focusing on lifestyle differences as a major factor in how the fight could unfold. He highlighted the contrast between Conor's well-documented party lifestyle and Max Holloway's disciplined, structured approach to training and daily life. According to Masvidal, Holloway maintains a simple routine built around training, family, and consistent gym work, with no signs of the chaotic lifestyle often associated with Conor during his off periods. He believes this difference in lifestyle could become a decisive factor, especially considering Conor's long layoff and return under pressure. Jon Anik further discussed the fight during broadcast analysis, stating that the idea of Conor versus Michael Chandler had already run its course and that the promotion made the right decision moving on. He suggested that the new matchup is more meaningful and competitive and praised the direction of the booking. Anik noted that Conor is currently listed as a plus 310 underdog against Chandler, emphasizing that even in that scenario, the odds do not fully reflect his potential danger as a fighter. He argued that Conor still carries elite-level timing and knockout ability, which could make him highly competitive upon return. He also mentioned that there is still a strong competitive spirit driving Conor's comeback, suggesting that even ambitious goals or future ideas about fighting top names remain part of his motivation. Anik added that while some expectations may seem aspirational, it is not impossible for Conor to perform at a high level and potentially secure a knockout victory. He closed by reinforcing that the narrative around this return is still developing. And while opinions remain divided, the anticipation surrounding Conor's comeback continues to grow as fight night approaches and discussions intensify across the MMA world. Move on to another news. Alex Pereira has called Ilya his brother after the way he stepped in to defend him during a tense situation involving Josh Hokett. The situation has been gaining attention throughout Fight Week, especially with both fighters headlining the same card and the backstage atmosphere becoming increasingly intense. Reports also suggest that Ilya even offered Alex and his team a ride on his private jet, further showing the growing bond between the two fighters outside the octagon. In a recent interview with Emma Junkie, Alex Pereira spoke openly about the incident and praised Ilya for stepping up like family. He explained that he does not fully understand English, but he could clearly feel the situation escalating and recognized Ilya's reaction as a moment of loyalty and support. Alex said that Ilya stepped in like a brother during the confrontation, referencing how the situation unfolded and how quickly things escalated around Josh Hokett. He suggested that the moment showed real respect and unity, especially during a high-pressure fight week environment where tensions are already high. He added that the organization should not allow situations like that to get out of control during fight week, especially when fighters are trying to stay focused on their upcoming bouts. According to Alex, moments like that can be distracting and unnecessary for athletes preparing for competition. Following the incident, Josh Hokett responded to Alex Pereira's comments on social media, firing back with a sharp message that further escalated the situation. His reply added more fuel to the ongoing tension, turning the exchange into a heated back and forth between both sides. Alex later released a new video addressing the situation again, standing firm on his perspective and making it clear that he will remain focused on his preparation despite the controversy surrounding the incident. The story continues to develop as both fighters remain in the spotlight during fight week, with attention now shifting toward how the situation may impact the atmosphere leading into their respective performances inside the octagon. Move on to another news. A fighter who was recently involved in an altercation with Arman is now officially making his way toward the UFC. The situation originally took place during the Netflix card build-up, where Arman and Namo Fazal nearly came to blows backstage. Reports say Arman even went looking for him behind the scenes after tensions escalated. Now, that same fighter has been signed by Dana White to compete on the Contender Series on August 11th. This gives him a direct opportunity to earn a UFC contract, with a strong performance potentially fast-tracking him into the organization. A win and an impressive showing could be enough to secure his place on the UFC roster very soon. Meanwhile, Arman continues to stay active online, recently posting a new skit featuring Nina Drama. The clip quickly sparked reactions across social media, as it showed a lighthearted but controversial scenario involving the two. In the video, Arman is seen at dinner with Nina, and at the end of the skit, he humorously passes her the bill. As expected, the post stirred conversation among fans, especially regarding Nina's boyfriend and how the dynamic plays out between them. While some viewers saw it as simple entertainment, others used it as another talking point in the ongoing online discussions surrounding Arman's personality and social media presence. At the same time, Paulo Costa has also been active on social media, going on Twitter to express frustration and vent directly to fans. His posts reflected growing tension and dissatisfaction, adding yet another layer of online drama involving fighters currently in or around the UFC spotlight. The combination of backstage altercations, Contender Series signings, and ongoing social media activity continues to keep multiple fighters in the headlines. With new prospects entering the UFC pipeline and established names staying active online, attention around the sport remains high both inside and outside the octagon. Move on to another news. Mike Perry has spoken about a potential fight with Conor McGregor and made it clear he is open to the idea. The discussion comes as talks around Conor's next move continue, especially with his UFC situation still shaping what his future options could look like. The matchup has long been rumored in fan discussions, but it was previously considered unlikely due to Conor being under UFC contract. However, with ongoing speculation about his remaining fights and possible free agency in the future, the idea of a crossover or special booking has started gaining attention again. During an appearance on Ariel Helwani's show, Mike Perry addressed the possibility directly and said he is fully on board with the fight. He also suggested that even a one-fight deal could be arranged if the UFC wanted to make it happen, showing he is willing to explore creative options to step into the matchup. Perry explained that he is not willing to sit around and wait for opportunities, saying he will continue staying active and taking fights that make sense for his career. He emphasized that he plans to keep competing regardless of whether the Conor fight happens or not, focusing on staying active in the meantime. He also mentioned that Conor is expected to face Max Holloway in his next major return, and suggested that both fighters could take other bouts before anything involving them happens. Perry believes timing will be a key factor, especially with Conor's schedule and contract situation still developing. According to Perry, after another fight or two, the timing could align for Conor's final UFC appearance, and at that point, a matchup between them could become realistic. He noted that if Conor is preparing for a final run, then facing him could be an option worth exploring depending on how events unfold. Perry added that he is open to waiting if necessary but will continue pursuing other opportunities in the meantime, keeping himself active and ready for any major call. He also suggested that if the UFC sees value in the matchup, they could step in and make a direct offer to bring the fight together. The conversation adds another layer to ongoing discussions around Conor's future, with multiple fighters now publicly expressing interest in facing him if the right conditions line up in the coming months.